Alright everyone, welcome back again di channel Papa Dejet. Dan kali ini gue kedatangan bintang tamu yang luar biasa. Ada salah satu orang yang selalu memberikan gue inspirasi. Ada GoDz di sini. Kita langsung ngobrol aja sama GoDz tentunya di sini. And gue akan panggil dulu. Hello GoDz, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are
Uh,
you doing?
I'm fine, I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm currently in Australia going through a 2 week quarantine. So I'm in kind of a hotel lockdown where I'm not allowed to leave. So I'm getting, a bit restless. I'm ready to go out into the world, but I have to wait like 3 or 4 more days.
3 or 4 more days. Okay, so
Yeah.
talking about days, you just finished your casting of first major in Southeast Asia in Singapore, and that's our as a Dota 2 community is first major event in 2021, and also you're casting a Predator League too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And that time is like no break at all. Like you just finish your first major, and then next week you're casting a Predator League. How are your condition right now?
I'm good. I'm getting time to relax. I flew straight from Singapore back to Australia. I have to renew my visa because I work in the US, and casting Predator League was a great way for me to pass the time because I have to spend 2 weeks in a hotel room. It was kind of nice. Oh, there's an event to commentate. I love casting SEA Dota. So as soon as they asked me, I said, I hope my internet will be good enough because I'm in a hotel. So luckily the internet was good enough that I
It's
could
good
do
enough.
commentating for both.
Okay.
If anything, I feel a bit bored now that the events are over. So now I'm trying to find more things to do to pass the time.
So lucky me to have your time in a quarantine day. Okay, so let's talk
Yeah.
about your career right now. Can you tell me how exactly your career start, Guts? Like, please, the time is yours.
Sure. I don't think there was like a one moment where it started. It was kind of like a slow build up and then things like really just took off, I guess I've been playing Dota for half my life now, probably back going before Dota 2, playing Warcraft 3 Dota, um, playing, Dota Dota All Stars on Frozen Throne. So I've just played Dota like basically my entire life, it feels
Wow.
like at this point.
Mm-hmm.
15 years. Um, I was always a big player, and then when Dota 2 came out, I was like, okay, I want to try and compete. So I played on some teams in Australia, some teams in kind of America, tried to compete at a top level. Sometimes had okay results, usually not so good. Um, and eventually, I think I realized like, hey, I love talking about this game. I'm really passionate about it. So commentating and being an analyst, running events kind of became a natural transition for me. I guess I
Mm-hmm.
was one of kind of the early pioneers of the Dota 2 scene that was looking to create events when there weren't many tournaments. I was one of the first kind of just commentators that existed in the Dota scene,
Is it?
one of the only ones that commentated Dota 1 as well. So, I think that's kind of just for me. I got in. My career started just by being super passionate about Dota and then running to run events for the game and commentate them.
Okay. So, is there any important person through all your career in esport until today? Like, who's helping you the
Ooh.
most? Like, when you start your career as a player or even as a shoutcaster and as an analyst, something like that. Is there anyone?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely one person that stands out the most. It's got to be LD. Like
Oh,
he was there since like the very early days of Dota 2. Like
it
some
is.
of the first big events I commentated or ran were working with him. So, he's always had my back. I've tried to always have his back. I wouldn't be where I am today without him.
Mm-hmm.
BTS, the company we started, it got where it is because of him. So, LD is definitely the person I respect and look up to. I think the most in the esports scene, as far as what he's helped me achieve and what he's achieved by himself.
Okay.
He's I think for a lot of Dota fans, kind of a name that they look back on lovingly because of all the work he did commentating, but they don't
Of
realize
course,
how
of
much
course.
maybe work he did to you know help build BTS and make
Mm-hmm.
it so that we could run so many amazing events for the
You
Dota
guys,
community all around the world.
you guys doing a great job with the BTS. And talking about career, can I ask you something like, is there any part of your career that make you so down? Like, I don't want to start again as a shortcaster. Is there any time that you feel about that?
Um, I think there's been several periods of burnout, I guess, as we
Mm-hmm.
say. I think when things started with me as a commentator, with running BTS, running events,
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't much time to kind of slow down. You were commentating at sometimes every single day, sometimes, 10 to 15 hours a day. We had to run events. We weren't just commentating, but we also had to, like, when the games ended, we had to go and edit our VODs and upload them to YouTube. We didn't have
Yes.
staff around us to help. It was just like me, LD, and
LD.
basically we're doing everything.
Yeah.
Later on, we brought in a few other people to help out. We had brought in a producer, Brian Zayori was working for us as one of our early employees. So, slowly we grew, but for the most part, it was like a job where you had to put in 70, 80, 90 hours a week
90
sometimes.
hours.
Like you just, it felt like you just lived, breathed, ate, slept, and all you did was BTS and Dota for
BTS.
like at least the first couple of years. It was like, it was my entire existence. It was all I was. So I think there were a few periods where, I got
Okay.
burned out or did too overworked, I guess. For me at the same time, like that was how I was most I think why we found a lot of success,
Mhm.
even though it wasn't that healthy or sustainable. And also it's something that I was so motivated, so was LD, that like we just wanted to put everything we had into making BTS succeed.
Okay. So when you start your career as a shotcaster, as an analyst, do you believe that this kind of job gonna make something for a living, something like that, or are you just going YOLO, something like that?
Definitely going a bit YOLO. I mean, I just like doing it. I didn't think I would get paid to do it when I first started out. I think the first events I commentated were like
Okay.
back in, I don't know, 2009, maybe 2008, for Dota 1. I remember the first time somebody offered to pay me, and I was so confused. I was like, what? Like, what? I just do this. I didn't say, in my head, I'm just thinking, like, I do this for fun. And they were asking me, like, oh, how much do we need to pay you to hire you for an event? I'm like, my first response was, I wanted to just say, you don't pay me. I just do it. And, you know,
Okay.
and
Okay.
and this guy Danny, he was just like, no, 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 no. I even like explained. I was like, I actually told him like, dude, I've never been paid. Like, I don't know. What do you think is a fair pay? So he was the first person to actually pay me for commentating Dota. So and kind of opened my eyes, like, oh, I can get paid to do this. So that was, I
Okay.
think, back in like 2010. So yeah.
Yeah. So after a up and down on your whole career as a shotcaster and analyst, and also as a player back then, can you describe your career right now? Like, are you satisfied or happy with all you got right now, Guts?
Yeah, I'm very satisfied. I think I'm lucky. I get to have a more balanced lifestyle compared to what I
Mm-hmm.
did 5 or 6 years ago. I get to go home and disconnect from work. I have a nice stable job. I think if I was just a shotcaster, there's a lot of uncertainty, but because I have the business with BTS, which is going really well,
Mm-hmm.
um, I have a lot of stability. I don't have to work as the crazy hours as much as I used to. So I feel really proud of what we've built and what we've created, and I'm lucky that it's allowed me to have this nice, I guess, more relaxed lifestyle compared to what I used to have, where it was just like the crazy Wild West.
Okay. So, okay, that's all my question about your career. And now let's talk about Dota, of course. Let's talk about Dota in Southeast Asia and specifically. So before we start about Dota in Southeast Asia, can we talk a bit about Team Secret first? Because I'm a big fan of Team Secret,
Sure.
but I know it's kind of ship that's sinking in a big event after a long DPC season that completely almost perfect for Team Secret, but they sinking in the first major in 2021. What is really happening in your opinion about Team Secret in the Singapore major, Gods?
Um, yeah, it's hard to say. I'm much as I've followed and watched Dota for so long, like there's still a lot of mysteries where a team can be so dominant for so long, and then when it comes to a big tournament, we see it time and time again. Like
Sure.
we joke about Secret and TI form because they historically have been one of the best teams in the world, and then they
It is.
at TI they don't do well.
Mm-hmm.
Even though for them not doing well, it's getting like maybe fourth place, fifth place, top eight. They often get fourth or fifth place, but people are disappointed because they expect Secret to win the tournament. So I think the major was kind of similar where, I think they made it top six.
Yeah, in the top six.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and end of the day, I think you have to. I think at least Secret walk away and think, that wasn't a good result, but it wasn't a bad result. It's probably good enough to get them to TI. TI
Mm-hmm.
is going to be the event that matters the most.
It is.
I know Heen, their coach, talked a bit about it where he said, I think Dota teams have learned, there's a bit of a roller coaster where some events you're going to just be super dominant, unbeatable, but then you're going to have some some more stagnant periods where things just don't click as much, or these these teams who are just really motivated and hungry teams, like we saw OB Neon, we saw Thunder Predator, those teams who got top 6 were suddenly playing amazing Dota and catching teams by surprise. So I think for Secret it's just one of those lower periods, and then they'll at least I presume they will bounce back. I don't think there's anything wrong. I think they just need to kind of refresh a bit. It's a new patch now, so I think that's going to help them. End of the day, I think they're one of the most talented Dota teams in every single position. They have I think the best coach in the world.
The best coach in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, at least the best coach in the Western scene. It's hard for me to comment on the Chinese coaches because I just don't. It's hard to know the scene and the coaches as well when they're not speaking the same language. But I think Secret will easily still be a top 3 team in the world for the next years to come.
Okay, so one more question before we're talking about Dota 2 in Southeast Asia. How's Ana return impact to the Dota scenes in the world? Like, everybody talk about Ana is just a part-time TI winner. Because after TI finish, he retired and then he come back again when the TI almost get there. And for my opinion, in my perspective, I think OG is kind of in a panic mode. Are you agree with me?
Yeah, I think it's great for OG that they can bring Ana back, and I love seeing Ana play. He's just naturally skilled. He's so good without having to put in the effort. I think that's such a, there are very few players who can just put in no effort and be as good as Ana. I don't think there's anyone like him. He puts in the least effort for how good he is of any Dota player in the world. I think there's other players out there who are just naturally gifted, like players like Ice, who is just amazing at every game he plays, who's a pro StarCraft player and stuff. But I think Ana's similar, but Ana's like, he can put in even less effort than someone like Ice. So, it's definitely great for OG fans. It's, great for the Dota scene that he's come back. He is like this TI mercenary who disappears for the rest of the year. It's kind of unfortunate and sad in a little way that you don't get to see Ana play the rest of the year. But I kind of, agree. For OG, I don't think this was the plan all along. I think OG wanted to be able to go to TI without Ana. They want to, the fact they have to bring Ana back is a sign that it's like they can't win without him. If anything, I think OG was they've repeatedly tried to prove that they can win without Ana. When they had the years where they played with Resolution, they played with ILTW, they were playing with Sumail, Mid1, they're trying to win without Ana because they know Ana's not a full-time Dota player. So they're trying to, every time he leaves, they try and fill in Ana's shoes, but nobody can fit in them. So, I think for OG, it's obviously going to be a little concerning that they're so dependent on Ana, it seems, to succeed. But at the same time, as long as he's willing to play TI, that's the event that matters the most. So
that's the most.
They're probably not too worried when it comes to, we're going to have him for TI. It's the rest of the year, it's like, if OG is that good, it's like, if OG is that good, why can't they win without Ana? That's it. That's it. OG are probably asking.
That's the community want to have a proof from OG. I think that they've
been. Go on.
No.
I was just going to say, OG's been good the last year without Ana, but they haven't been like the best.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Southeast Asia Dota right now. So, DPC Season 2 is start with a lot of new stack team, especially in lower division. Like let's say team SMG that filled with Kippy, Mushi, Mid1, Afu, and also Nia. Because some people said this is gonna be a big obstacle for anyone in lower bracket. Are you agree with them? Like
that it will be a what, sorry?
With a
Can
big,
you repeat your question?
Big obstacle for the other team in the lower division to win lower division and compete on the upper division. Are they gonna make it?
Yeah, I think both Team SMG and then also we have the return of Motivate Trust. I think both those two teams. I look at those teams, I'm like, dang, they should be in the upper division. Like Motivate Trust last year in 2020 was like one of the best teams next to Fnatic for the entire year, like until they lost a couple of their team basically fell apart for a period of time, or they would have been invited to the DPC Season 1. Team SMG I think are a little unproven, but you see all the stars in their team, having Mid1, KP, Afu, Mushi, even Nea. It's like, like this team should be amazing. So I would expect them to finish very high up. I guess for next season we don't know what's going to happen after TI. Maybe that I don't know if that means they get to go to upper division because this is like the qualification towards
Mm-hmm.
TI. So we'll see how it works. But they're a team that could theoretically play TI qualifiers and make it to
Of
TI
course.
even because they have so many stars on their team.
Okay. Okay, so how about upper division like TNC, Fnatic, OB Neon, Boom, T1, Omega, Team Omega, Lilgan, Execration? That's a big organization with a big player. Who's gonna come out as a winner in the season, Guts? Because
Oh
previous
man.
season, like OB Neon is like team that if you know this, OB Neon is like arguing with the Boomy Sport, with the organization, with the event organizer, like who's the right one to fill the direct invite in the first season, and now Obinion prove it on the first season, and they compete in the high level in a Singapore major back then. So who's
Yeah.
who's gonna come out as a winner in your opinion?
Oh, it's so hard to call. Like SEA Dota is crazy, man.
Of course,
You know,
that's why I need
one
you.
week, yeah, one week, TNC is the best team. The next week, TNC is not the best team. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I think it's hard to say. Like, Fnatic did not do well at the major, but I think they have so much experience with their like core players, DJ, Jabs, and Moon. They're just like the veterans of the SEA Dota scene. So even though they sometimes do badly on the LAN events, I think online Fnatic is generally gonna at least finish top three. So I would say Fnatic will get one of the slots, and then I want to see TNC there because TNC is, they do so well when they're playing on the big stage.
Of
They
course.
beat OG at TI, they win all these
Mm.
big crazy matches. So I think
Ah,
TNC is a team that I want to see there. I don't know. Sometimes they do bad online, and then I think it'd be fun to see like a different team, like a team like you mentioned Boom. I love watching
T1.
MIKOTO play. He's like my favorite player to watch. So I think seeing Boom Esports get top three. I mean, this is the team maybe I want to see. So
Of course.
as
As
far as
an
my
as
as
an
far as my
Indonesian player, as an Indonesian citizen, I want to them to compete in the high level, of course.
Yeah, yeah. But I think the teams I would predict would probably be Neon, Fnatic, and TNC. But I think I would love to see Boom there. But yeah, I think those are to me, the top three favorites right now. I think
Okay.
T1 have looked a bit more shaky since then, but we'll see.
Okay, so talking about big player, we're missing big or one a big name in Southeast Asia DPC season right now is In Your Dream. His team get disqualified on a qualifier. I know it wasn't his fault, but how's the tattoo scenes in the DPC in this DPC season without one of the big name like In Your Dream, or anyone else with a big name? Cuts.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It sucks because, like you say, he's such a big name. He's one of the biggest stars in Southeast Asian Dota.
Of
So
course.
to not have him playing in the DPC, it's really sad. It's he's someone who's missed. I hope he can join a team. Maybe a team will need to pick up a player for the TI qualifiers. There might be some team that can hopefully pick him up. Obviously, that means somebody has to be kicked, which is a bit sad in itself. But maybe there's a team that just has bad results, whether it's Fnatic, T1, maybe it's a lower division team who just doesn't do well, but decides, okay, we're going to be playing TI qualifiers. Let's pick up In Your Dream because of how skilled he is. So I think I hope he will get an opportunity to still prove himself and play TI qualifiers. He is just so talented that the
Okay.
DPC is not as good without him.
Okay, so how about FT Faded? Is it fair enough to disqualify a team and ban him for all fall of tournament until TI 10? Guts, your opinion?
Um, I think the punishment was harsh but fair. It was like a very complicated situation. I know a lot of
It
the
is.
team were upset with it. I think Valve have made it very clear that players can only be registered on one team, and he was registered on one team and then playing qualifiers with another, and that in itself broke the Valve rules. So, players have known that it goes against the Valve rules. He used a Smurf account, which maybe you're allowed to. I think the admin told him he's allowed to play on a Smurf, but
Mm-hmm.
that the admin didn't realize he was playing on two teams at once. I think so.
Oh,
The fact he's playing on a Smurf, I think, meant that he knew he was doing something that probably wasn't allowed. So,
okay. So basically, FT
um,
Faded know what he's doing, right?
I mean that I don't know the details, but he clearly knew at least there was a chance what he was doing was not okay. That's
Okay.
why he's like, why else would you? I guess for me, it's like, why else would he play on a Smurf unless he knew something about what he was doing was maybe not going to be allowed. So
Okay.
it's really sad because his team. I saw that team and I was like, oh man, this team could be really good.
It is.
Um, I mean, they beat SMG when they played, so potentially like at least based on the result there, they're probably a better team than SMG. They did beat them fair and square, and I think that's what
Yeah.
people are saying. It's like, hey, they won fair and square. Well, this player still broke the rules, and the problem is for Valve, if they say, okay, it's okay, we'll let you remove from the team, then everyone else in the future will say, oh, you let this team change the rules, you made an exception for them, you have to make an exception for us now. So
yeah.
yeah, Valve take this approach where they don't give any exceptions with the rules, because if they do, then they have to give it to everyone. They want to be consistent, and as a result, this team got punished for it.
Okay.
It's really unfortunate. It means they can't play TI qualifiers because there's no open qualifiers. So hopefully, his teammates can maybe find a team the same as in your dream. Maybe they can join a team that already exists, but they can't make their own team anymore, which is a bit sad.
Okay, so going to my last few question, I think this is gonna be a bit sensitive because I'm gonna ask you, is Southeast Asia Dota as big as other region gods? Like compare with Europe or even China or even a CIS or even North America, something like that. Is it as big as them?
Sure. When you say it's big, what do you mean by as big?
Like the spotlight coming from the from the event organizer to held event in Southeast Asia. I know it's a pandemic season. It's a pandemic situation right now. There's no event that gonna be held anytime soon again after the first major, of course. But if we saw back in the day, there's a lot of event in European, in the CIS region, also in China. But when it's come to Southeast Asia, I think it's only like online event. It's a big event, but it's still online event. What is your opinion about something like that?
Sure. I mean, the Southeast Asia has a lot of really talented players and teams. I think that goes without saying. It's something whenever people talk about SEA Dota, it's like, yeah, there's so many good individually skilled players, but they don't have amazing teams. I think often people talk about the region as not having enough captains. And also, I think what ends up happening, unfortunately, is some of the best players from Southeast Asia get poached for teams in other regions. You've got Midwan who left the region. You have Ice, Abed who are playing with Evil Geniuses. So some of the most skilled players. And then you look in the Chinese DPC, there's probably like, I think 5 or 6 players, maybe more, maybe it's close to like 10 players who are coming from Malaysia. And yeah, exactly. So a lot of Southeast Asian players are playing in other regions. So the region is losing some of its most skilled players. But there are so many. I think the player base is so big in Southeast Asia. Like for me, SEA Dota is much bigger than NA Dota because there's just more players. There's more teams. There's more tournaments overall. It's maybe not as big. I think the Chinese Dota scene is like the biggest and most successful because they have like so many teams. They have a really good structure where these teams have academy teams. They have like this kind of development system where they help build up new players and really create this pathway from being like a amateur to professional. I mean, these players aren't amateurs. They're like, all pop stars at the worst. So, but they create a pathway for players to play on an academy team, get better, improve, and then eventually maybe make it onto one of the tier 1 teams, which doesn't exist in other regions as much. So I would say SEA Dota, at least as far as the size goes of the scene, it's similar to Europe and CIS. The prize money and support is very different. Like, different. Europe, there's
I know.
Last year during COVID, the pandemic year, they had all these tournaments with like $500,000 in prize money for online tournaments. ESL, We Play, Epicenter were all running these huge events. That didn't exist in SEA, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay.
But
so
I think that's what's missing in SEA Dota is just more financial support for players and teams and orgs. Yeah. Okay.
So my last question is, last time when I do the interview with Capitalist and also Purge, both said that Southeast Asia team is a lack of leadership figure. Are you agree with that? And how's leadership figure looks like for esport team, especially in Dota, in your opinion, GoDz? Is it something?
What was the last part of the question?
Oh, how is the leader figure supposed to be look like in Southeast Asia team in Dota?
Sure. I mean, I think on the surface level, like I definitely agree. I think it's what people will always say about Southeast Asian Dota is that there's not enough captains and leaders. I think it's harder in the region because different teams from different countries will speak different languages. So, we talked about Boom Esports, we talk about Motivate Trust. They're making a team of players from their country generally because, they're going to speak Thai, they're going to speak Indonesian. So it's hard to, it's very different, I think, to teams in other regions where English is the main language because they can just pick up so many more players. Or they'll pick up someone maybe English isn't their first language, but they speak or understand enough. So it's a lot harder to find leaders, I think, because there's just less options. I think it's a similar problem that South America has. I've talked to some of the teams there, like Thunder Predator, and they're just like, yeah, we don't have a coach because there's no coaches. Like because their team speaks Spanish and there's no experienced veteran players who are Spanish speakers who can really coach them. So they just don't have a coach. I think it's a similar thing in SEA. Maybe some of the teams where they speak English, like in the Philippines, they speak English more as like a main language. It's a bit easier. So I think the language barrier makes it hard. But I also think it's not, it's not entirely, there are some good leaders and captains in SEA. I just think they have yet to maybe prove themselves as much. Players like March in the past, Ninja Boogie, he won a major when he was playing on Maneski. Even some of the players now, like Fnatic with Jabs, like Jabs, he hasn't done as well on the big stage, but he's allowed Fnatic to consistently be one of the best teams in Southeast Asia for a while now.
Of course.
He's just more quiet. I think the SEA captains are just more quiet and reserved, and they, as a result, I think people see them as not being leaders because they're less vocal. They're not like they're not standing up and commanding a presence the same way like someone like Puppy does or PPD. PPD is very outspoken. Puppy similar thing. So I think just because SEA, the personalities of the captains there are more shy. They're more quiet. They don't appear as leaders as much in the same way. But I think, end of the day, SEA does have good captains. I think it's a bit unfair on the region to say there aren't any good captains there. They're just not as proven and not as experienced as the captains that people think of, like the Puppy, Kuroki, Jiawei, the big captains of the Western and Chinese scene.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's a lot of question coming from me, and that's the last one. So I'm gonna say thank you for your time, GoDz, for allow me to interview you in this quiet time, of course.
No problem. I appreciate it. It's great to always talk about Dota with someone.
Okay, so I'm gonna say sorry if my English is not good. So I think we're gonna talk again one day when I have a lot of new talking point with you. Okay, so thank you, GoDz. See you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.